Another day of Champions League football and another day of twists and turns. Guys, we're going to be taking a look through it all. Today was headlined by a plethora of games, not to mention Arsenal versus Monaco. You also had Borussia Dortmund versus Barcelona, to just name a few. No need for us to wait. We're going to get into all of it. This is the slate of results. Don't worry about reading too much into who won, who lost, because we're going to be taking a bit of time to look through each and every game. Kicking off with Arsenal versus Monaco, just to set the scene for both teams. Arsenal obviously coming off the draw against Fulham, which dampened the spirits. They'd been in some exceptional form before that game, and the Fulham game was essentially a big detractor from what Arsenal have been doing and how well they have been performing. Monaco, on the other hand, have been doing really well in Ligue 1, continuing that streak not only in Ligue 1 but in the Champions League as well. And they were a team that couldn't really be brushed aside in the senses of this is going to be an easy game because they're doing so well in the league. They're doing quite well in the Champions League. I believe it was 3 victories, 1 draw, and 1 defeat before this game. Obviously, the extra defeat added onto their record will have an impact on their progression, but they sit around mid-table. Now, Arsenal with the 3 points are looking for that automatic progression. We'll talk a little bit about the game. First goal from Bukayo Saka was one that was definitely needed. Arsenal were pretty much in the ascendancy. In the beginning stages of the game, it was a little bit topsy turvy, if I'm being honest. However, they got the breakthrough through Bukayo Saka, and that's exactly what Arsenal needed from Saka, getting them back on track. There's been a lot of talk about open play goals and corner goals. There's no debate this time. Perfectly put away, and he would double up later on in the second half. A mistake from Monaco was pretty much a gift. And again, he continues his great streak of form. I think he's got about 10 goal contributions in around 7 Champions League games at home. And that's not normal, you know. Great performances by him. Questions about whether he's world class or not. He's doing it on a European stage. He does it in the Premier League. The boy is world class. End of debate. I Havertz with a goal in the 88th minute. I think that could have been Saka's hat trick, but Kai got ahead of it. He worked really hard for the second goal as well, to hurry up the goalkeeper, for him to make a poor pass and for Saka to have an easy finish. Again, Saka gets the ball and shoots, and Kai Havertz gets across it. So does the defender. Ends up in the back of the net. It's been credited to Kai, and no complaints there, because even in the brief time that he spent on the pitch, he had an impact. Looking at the lineups, we're going to take a look at each team from a Monaco standpoint. No one really impressed me. If I'm going to be 100% honest, I wouldn't say one person particularly stood out. Very uh, mundane performance from them. I would say Arsenal kept them in check for large parts of the game. From an Arsenal standpoint, key difference in the starting lineup was obviously Lewis Skelly coming in. Arsenal fans all around across the country will be asking, why didn't we do this against Fulham and keep Timber at right back and allow Party to move into midfield? It's a question. In the midfield, Moreno came in. Again, I'm not 100% sold on Moreno. I wasn't overly impressed. Quick shout out to Saliba, Kivior, and Raya, being as solid as they are. Party at right back was good. Lewis Skelly again was solid. Declan Rice had a good half, and he continues to, you know what you're going to get from Declan Rice. 7 out of 10 at a minimum, consistently. Odegaard missed a clear one-on-one and he had another chance. He needs to have his finishing boots on. If we're being honest, everyone, has praised him as being the saviour for Arsenal, and definitely from a creative standpoint, we've gotten better. However, you're our captain, you're our leader, and I have the highest of standards for him because I've seen the kind of player he can be. So why would I be comfortable with anything less? He needs to be hitting those levels and higher. And when we talk about those levels, we're talking about he was a midfielder and one of very few, if not the only, I can't remember the exact stat, but 15 non-penalty goals he scored in the Premier League season from midfield. We need a bit of that. We need that. If we haven't got a clinical striker, then we're going to need Odegaard to do what he needs to do. And even in this game, he should have had 2 goals minimum. He needs to be that kind of player for us. It can't just be those little passes and flicks here and there. He needs to be on the end of things, on the end of those cutbacks and finishing his chances, because without that, Arsenal have less than a desirable chance to progress in this tournament to where they want to get to, so semis and above, or in the Premier League title race. They're going to need him to be scoring upwards of 12 goals in the league minimum. And that's Arsenal. They continue their trajectory. We're going to take a look at the table at the end of this, so don't worry. Next up, an English team who have not had such a great time of it. Man City ended up losing to Juventus, and it continues their streaky form. It's not been good at all. I don't even know what their form is looking like now. I know the draw to Crystal Palace, which some would say should have been a loss, um, continued that form in the league, and in Europe, it's not getting much better. 2 goals from Vlahovic and McKennie, and two players who I could tell really enjoyed their goals. Not only is it winning in Europe, but scoring against a team who has bullied many teams in Europe and in the league is one that you're going to savour. Alovic's goal was a goal of effort and hard work. He did what many kind of have been done to from Haaland. He rose up in the air and was able to put the ball into the back of the net. And McKennie's goal came from a counter. Great work from Juventus to move the ball and win the ball back. I would say Doku was very careless with the ball when he had it. Lost the ball. Danilo with a great tackle. The ball moves up the pitch. Timothy Ware puts in a little dinked cross, and there is McKennie with I'll call it more of a scissor kick to finish off the game. Juventus run out as 2-0 winners. If you've watched Juventus in the league, I can't believe this. I can't believe they won. If I'm being honest with you, they've struggled in front of goal mightily. Yes, Vlahovic has been out for a couple of games within that run, but they have been awful, putrid in front of goal. They've been the draw specialists of the Serie A. Yes, they still are unbeaten, but 9 draws out of all of the games that they've played in the league is less than desirable. And coming into this game, I thought Man City would find their form again. You can see they had a lot more of control in the game. Juventus had small periods of control and small periods of domination, but when they had it, they took advantage of it with goals. As you can see, expected goals, not much difference. Man City seem to have a lot of the ball and not do too much with it. We're going to take a look at 2 of the teams and call out some of the performances. Key one for me, Vlahovic coming up and scoring a goal against the English champions and previous European champions as well. It is one thing to note for sure. Brilliant work from him. Yildiz, who we've seen continuously in Serie A tear it up, continued his great form. Another person I want to call out is Danilo. He was absolutely solid, shut down the likes of Silva and Doku very easily. And for someone of his age to continuously do that shows his quality. But the key person I want to call out from Juventus is Locatelli. He absolutely ran that midfield from moment one to the end. He was brilliant. He's shown his quality, shown why he's been linked with some of the best teams in the world, as well as playing for one of the best teams in the world in Juventus. And he topped that performance off amazingly. Man City, no one I would really shout out. Haaland was exceedingly poor during the game, if I'm being honest. Defense gives me no confidence. Kyle Walker gives me no confidence. Ruben Diaz gives me no confidence. And Guardiola, I mean, if he's not scoring, then you probably are questioning where you're getting your return from. And I think it was around an £80 million spend from Man City for him. So that should get you a defence that should be solid. Against a team that has struggled so much to score like Juventus, I would expect a lot more from Man City. So disappointment, and we'll see how they can bounce back. Next up, Borussia Dortmund versus Barcelona. This was my game of I would say even the whole match week. Two teams who have a history with each other. They've played each other on numerous occasions. And for me, I was looking forward to it. Borussia Dortmund have been electric at home in the Bundesliga, continuously causing problems for pretty much every team who comes and visits them. Barcelona would be no different. However, a key moment in the game would turn it all, and that was for the third goal. And I'm going to cover that goal specifically, as well as what a brilliant game it was. End to end, Borussia Dortmund, in my opinion, should not have lost that game. They were less than clinical in front of goal. Barcelona took their opportunities, and fundamentally for the last goal, Torres' goal, it's very funny how it comes about, because Borussia Dortmund actually were on the attack. It was their corner. The ball gets essentially headed out from the corner. They have the chance to whip the ball back in. An absolutely awful cross is attempted, and from there, Barcelona breakaway. It's essentially a 4v2 breakaway for Barcelona, and they can't mess it up. They don't mess it up. Fernand Torres with a lucky / smart finish, whatever you want to call it. He gets his second goal of the game and kills off Borussia Dortmund's attempt to get something from a game that was known to be difficult. but they performed exceedingly well, and they should have, in my opinion, got something out of it. Barca coming away from home to a ground like this and winning shows that they've got a level about themselves, definitely higher than last season, that's for sure. People I want to call out, Yamal was brilliant for the winning goal and all throughout the game. Danny Almo and Rafinha, that three behind Lewandowski, were really good in creating those opportunities that were required for Barcelona to win the game. Kunde again was brilliant, exceptional, not only from a defensive standpoint but going forward, aiding and combining with Yamal at a brilliant level. Guirassy as well with his 2 goals. Um, can't complain. What kind of output you would want from your striker, and that was kind of the standout performances from this game. Next up, Feyenoord versus Sparta Prague. Feyenoord again are a team who have done really, really well in the Eredivisie and continue to push on. Goals from Jimenez as well as 3 others were enough to keep Sparta Prague down. We'll take a look at the table for both teams and where they currently land. Feyenoord, middle of the table, if they get themselves into the playoff, it wouldn't be a bad result at all. 3 wins, 1 draw, 2 defeats. That's a record that's better than Man City, than PSG. It's not something that you can kind of knock at. Sparta Prague have only got 1 win and 1 draw out of the 6 games, and the rest are defeats, unfortunately. But they'll continue to push on in those games and see if they can maybe sneak in to the playoff, however unlikely that may be. Next up, another game I want to cover is Milan versus Red Star Belgrade. Again, a game that I knew would be a little bit topsy-turvy. Red Star Belgrade, even though they are of the level of some of the other European elite, they're always going to put in a good game. They may get beaten. You may score 5 against them. They're going to get 1 or 2. Guaranteed. They will get a goal because they've got a level of quality. They've got a competitiveness about them, and this was no different. Going away to the San Siro and having the opportunity to get this game to the scoreline that they did is a testament of their effort and their hard work. Milan, firstly, we'll talk about the Leao's goal, a brilliant take and finish from him. Hard to describe it because it was that good. A ball over the top, essentially. He has no right to even strike it from there and get into the back of the net, but somehow he pulls out a finish pretty much first time. Shows his quality. He is the gem for Milan. If they were to lose him, I'm sure they would collect a very pretty penny. Red Star did hit back in the second half. All the way up into the 87th minute, there was nothing to be said for Milan. They huffed and puffed all the way until Tammy Abraham gets the 87th minute winner as he came off the bench, and Milan get the victory. They desperately needed this victory at home. These home games are super important that you can win. And again, key person I want to talk about is Rafael Leao. I think he's an amazing player. I think he has so much to offer the wider footballing world. I think he's done a great job at Milan, and it will be interesting to see when he moves where he will go to, because I think he's a very, very dynamic player. Lille versus Sturm Graz. Again, Lille have done really well in the Champions League so far. As you can see, they are a team who are currently actually in the automatic qualification places, which you wouldn't have believed coming into this competition. Them and Brest automatically qualifying will raise some alerts, that is for sure. But they're 2 teams who have earned their right to be where they are. For Lille, their next team will be Liverpool, which will be very, very interesting to see how they will go up against them and if they can actually win the game. Strudgrumps, who haven't had the best of Champions League debuts, we would say, or showings in a long time. Only 1 win, but I don't think they would have expected much more given the competition level. And I'm sure these opportunities will put them in good stead for any future Champions League appearances. So Lille continue to push on. It will be very interesting to see the game versus Liverpool. Next up, Atletico Madrid versus Slovan Bratislava, and Atletico run out as 3-1 winners. 2 goals from Griezmann and 1 goal from Alvarez sees Atletico Madrid continue their winning streak. As you may have seen, they're 10 games unbeaten at the moment, and this is something that I don't think was ever under threat in this game. Something that I've been aware of from Atletico Madrid, have been conceding goals probably when they shouldn't have, and this was no difference in this game, giving up a cheap goal. No impact in this game. However, in the future, they probably want to minimize the opportunities for them to fall into these traps and not perform in the way that they need to perform. We'll take a quick look at the lineup. We'll take a quick look at the lineup just to make sure that we have the top performers called out. Obviously, Griezmann with a double continuously shows out. Rodrigo de Paul was a really good performance from him. Lino, who we've spoken about previously on the channel, very, very well from the left mid position. And Atletico Madrid continue to push on. We'll just check out where they are in the table. They are just outside the automatic places at the moment. Have conceded, as mentioned, more goals than you would probably have wanted them in the games that they've played. However, they put themselves in a decent position entering into the final two games of the Champions League group stage. Next up, Stuttgart run out 5-1 winners versus Young Boys. Very impressive for Stuttgart, who are finding their feet in the Bundesliga, and I think they're actually putting themselves in a decent position to potentially make the playoffs, if I'm not mistaken. And so, yeah, with a victory here, they've put themselves in contention. Same record as PSG. Scary to say from a PSG standpoint, but they've got an outside opportunity to get themselves into these playoff opportunities and give themselves a chance to make it into the knockout stages of the competition. A lot to be seen and on if they can actually do that. However, I wouldn't put it past them. Their next game will be against Slavan Bratislava, so there's more than enough opportunity for them to go through. We'll see if they can get it done. And finally, Benfica versus Bologna. This game I thought would be highly competitive. It was. I did think Benfica had the potential to edge it. Unfortunately, they were unable to. Bologna have been strong in the Serie A and continue that strength into this competition. They've been actually very strong defensively as well, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, their defensive record has been very, very impressive in the Champions League. One thing that hasn't been impressive is their ability to score goals. And let's just take a look here. Benfica have conceded 7 goals and scored 10. They find themselves middle of the pack, which isn't bad at all for them. Bologna, on the other hand, have yet to win a game. 2 draws, have only scored 1 goal and conceded 7. 1 goal. They're the lowest goal scorers in the whole competition, and that's what is going to be their detriment because their defense holds up without a doubt. They just need to find a way of getting goals, and obviously losing your top goal scorer in Joshua Zirkzee, who wasn't much of a goal scorer anyway, can't really help. We've already taken a look briefly at the table for some of these teams. This is the collective table. At the top, you'll see Liverpool, Barcelona, and Arsenal, followed up by Leverkusen, Aston Villa, and Inter Milan. Brest and Lille, we've spoken about. The fact that they sit in these positions, I mean, you've got to give your hats off to them. 2 teams who have worked incredibly hard to be in these positions. Making up the playoffs, key teams to talk about: Borussia Dortmund, Bayern Munich, Atletico Madrid, Milan. You've got a whole host of teams here who will want to push up into these positions and move out Brest and move out Lille. It'll be interesting to see who will be sitting in these positions when we get to the end of these group stages. Guys, let me know who's been your biggest disappointment through these first 6 games, who's been your biggest surprise through these first 6 games. I want to hear all your opinions, your comments, your likes. I want to see it all, guys. I'll catch you soon. It's been EDA. Peace.